No, I just want to change my calendar, so
Yeah,
make
so
sure
next
I
week
show
I
up
have
where I'm
it on,
supposed to.
let me just double check what day I have it on. I'm finalizing the calendar now with my assistant, so let me tell you what day or what time it is for next week. Hang on one moment. All right, who wants to share some positive news? Who's got some news to share?
I went under contract yesterday on a house, so I'm pretty
Beautiful.
happy.
Yay.
All right. How'd you find that client?
Facebook ad.
Really? Tell us more about that.
Well, I run ads around all my listings, and they responded to one of my ads. I can't even remember which one she responded to, so I have to go back and figure it out because, I want to make sure that it's, something that an ad that I continue to run.
Yeah.
Um,
So tell us, like, you don't have to give me the exact number, but what would you say roughly you spent in order to get that lead?
I usually spend $30 for each of my leads, and it's going to net me, it'll gross $7,500.
I'd say that's a pretty good return on your investment. Have you guys ever thrown $30 at something in the stock market and pulled out 7,500?
Right.
I don't think
For
that's
how
ever
much
happened.
time?
What's that? Maybe
Well,
Bitcoin or
that's
something
not to
a couple years
say,
ago.
but I've gotten 2 deals from my Facebook ads. So, I've probably spent over the course of the last few months $500 maybe in Facebook ads, but still, that's
Even
a
that.
good return. If I got, $8,000 or $9,000 out of $500 returns, so
Yeah, that's still
that,
what,
that's
15x?
that's 4 Zillow leads.
Don't even get me started about Zillow now. That's a 15x return. Good job, Jan. All right, who else got some positive news?
On my listing yesterday,
You got that listing, huh?
yes,
That was a for sale by owner, was it not?
it was. She was listed with Mark Spain for 4 days, fired him, and then went under for sale by owner, and that's where I picked her up at the withdrawn, as a withdrawn.
All right. I want to talk about Mark for just a second, and then I want you to tell some more about that story, okay? I know Mark, great guy, but just because he's the top agent in town, he's got billboards everywhere, doesn't necessarily mean that he provides the perfect level of service or the perfect custom experience that a seller desires, right?
Right.
So that's why it's so important. Don't just assume that the seller wants to work with the guy who everyone knows. You got to ask the questions about what it needs to happen in the experience in order for them to consider it a win, and then give them the confidence that you can provide that. Make sense?
Yes.
So there was something that went on in that 4 days that caused this woman not to be enjoying the experience. So I know Julian, among the questions that he asked her was to explain what that issue was. And that way he can make sure that it's not repeated. So I know you were courting that woman for close to a month. Tell us more.
She was pretty vocal about Mark Spain. I think he priced the house $30,000 more than anything had ever sold in the neighborhood. And then he told her to call up FMLS and lie because I guess he made an error at that point. But in reviewing his listing, he had the wrong.
We're on YouTube now.
What?
I said.
Oh.
All right, keep going.
Hey, Mark. Good morning.
Right,
no, I met him down in Jamaica with when Rhonda Duffy was down there when there was a group of people. So it was, I like him personally, but anyway, so the listing was not correct. It had the wrong listing area. I mean, the wrong FMLS area and the bunch of other items. So it was interesting. But anyway, needless to say, she basically terminated the relationship after 4 days, went on FUSPO. She dropped her price $12,000 and went on vacation, just came back, and she was ready to sell. for whatever, she's got one sort of hidden reason, but I don't know what it is actually, but that she wants to sell. So she was very cooperative client. So very good. Accepted my price that I convinced her that that was the price to stay ahead of the market and to be successful. So anyway, she is all on board.
Very nice. So that's one more for successful for sale by owner. Fantastic job, Julian. That came from a lot of different things that Julian kind of strung together. Number one is he has a commitment to generate leads every single day. Number two, he's taken advantage of some of the offerings that productivity offers with respect to withdrawn and for sale by owner and expired data. Rhonda, I got your email last night. I'll give you a long explanation about all the stuff you asked, okay? Another thing that that Julian did is he had a system in place, or several systems in place, to make sure that that lead did not slip through the cracks. And he capitalized on some shortfalls from previous relationships with agents, right? And convinced this woman, not because he's trying to get a paycheck, but because she has a desire to sell, a very strong desire to sell. And he is walking her through that process. So good for you, man. Good for you.
And she's also a buyer. So we'll begin now looking for that replacement home.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's do one more. Anyone else want to share anything? All right, let's move right on. Who wants to share something that they have learned in Bold? Bold has been awesome this time. I'm almost caught up, but man, it is good. I love that guy, Dennis. Do y'all love him?
Yes, he's
Man,
very
do
good.
you think I could pull off that jacket?
Yes.
No.
Really?
Even you have. Is Dennis host?
I don't think I could either. I got to tell you. All right, teach me something. What'd you guys learn in Bold?
Let's see.
First thing that comes to your mind.
Well, the listing presentation was just, it flowed and it was just dynamite. Their closes, their tie downs were just right on.
Yeah. I love the isolating the objection. We're gonna spend some time next week. There's gonna be a couple more role play sessions. I thought that we're really well yesterday, 2 days ago. And also we'll study some language patterns as well. So even the folks that are not in Bold can learn some of that stuff and some additional stuff. One of the things that they teach us is when somebody says, hey, Julian, you're a nice guy, but I'd like for you to lower your commission for me. And the first thing, you don't want to go at it in a defensive way right away, right? Seek first to understand. So you say, hey, Julian, outside of your desire to pay a smaller commission, is there anything that would prevent you from signing a contract and listing your home with me, right? So you isolate because it might be something different, or it might be something additional that you also have to deal with, right? But you need to make sure you know exactly what you're working with and which hurdles you got to cross, okay? So once we isolate the objection, we can move it to some other idea, like Donna did yesterday, which is many people believe that by paying a smaller commission, you'll net more money. That's not always the case, right? That's why big companies pay lots and lots and lots of money to hire negotiators that are going to be better than just the random negotiator, right? So there's a lot of different techniques, but I really loved how you're isolating the objection, you're asking another question or several other questions to get deeper into the reason why that's a concern of theirs. And then you're taking them back to the emotional desires to be in Phoenix for school or whatever it was, right? All right, beautiful. All right, let's spend a few minutes on time management. When you guys hear time management, I want this to be somewhat interactive. Talk to me about what is the first thing that you think about that is kind of like misuses of time? What do you struggle with respect to time management?
Sticking to it.
Okay, sticking to it. What else?
Well,
Distraction.
My husband likes to tell me everything takes longer than I think it will.
That's interesting. Okay. I'm kind of the opposite, I think.
Maybe it's just me.
Stop bragging, Bill.
I'm not the opposite. Wait. Yeah, actually, I'm the same. Come to think of it. Yeah, sorry. You're right. Okay, distractions. What else?
Just getting a system in place that will, there's so many video and training opportunities just to figure out how to manage that and get them off to the sort of the side of your schedule but recover those and see those things you want to participate in.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So it's essentially a tracking system, right? Okay, beautiful. Anything else? And this is an ongoing theme, guys. Time management is outside of skill development. Time management is probably the biggest theme that you will be working on your entire career. Okay. I don't have it figured out. I know a lot of stuff, but I can't say that I follow 100% of it. So we're not gonna be able to cover everything and turn you guys into time management experts in the next 20 minutes. Okay. We'll give you a lot of things to think about. So let's talk about sticking to it. The first thing that I think of when I think of time management is a calendar. Okay. So the one thing, and that also goes into the system idea that Julian mentioned, which is, what is your system just to keep time organized, right? Do you have, like my system, for example, again, not saying this just works for me. This is 15 years in the making, okay? I got a planner here that I basically take everywhere except for the bathroom, right? It is with me at all times, okay? And any idea that I have, anything I want to share with you guys, any person I remember I need to call or email and I need to send or something like that goes in the planner. It's always in front of me, and it is a paper calendar, okay? I also have a digital calendar that I use for my appointments, just my appointments, okay? So that, and it's on one of the screens. So at any time I can tell somebody I'm available or not available, and I can kind of review what I have coming up. That way I can plan, okay, when am I gonna eat? When can I go take a walk around the building, right? When can I take a moment, right? And I follow that so much. I mean, I'm looking at literally, I probably look at my calendar a couple of hundred times a day. Okay, because I know that time is so valuable. Okay, so the first question we want to talk about is, what is your system for organizing your time? Do you have a day planner? Do you have a digital calendar? Do you have both? Do you kind of wing it? Because the more you get purposeful about controlling how you spend your minutes, the more results you're going to get from your minutes. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you have any questions about calendaring, I have pretty much done, like, if it's a planner, I've done the research and I probably have a sample planner of it. Like, I became like almost obsessive with this, just because like not all planners are the same, right? Some planners are very much around scheduling, and I wanted my schedule to be on the computer. So I wanted a calendar that was more about ideas, right? Because that's kind of how my brain works. So think a little bit about how you process the information, and then I want you to first figure out a tool, a system that you're going to use to track your time. The next thing I want to talk about is the 80-20 principle. Okay, all things do not matter equally. Does everyone hears that, right? Okay, now, so what matters the most? What matters the most, according to a lot of our education, is the 5 job descriptions of a real estate agent, right? Lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating, and practicing in role play. Notice it didn't say posting on Instagram. Notice it did not say making flyers. Notice it did not say putting signs in the ground. As a matter of fact, it didn't even say go into closings. Okay? I'm not suggesting you stop going to closings. I'm just suggesting understand that that is not the most important thing to do to drive your business forward. Okay. Now, I never missed a closing, but I'm just suggesting that you will get better return by getting back on the telephone or going back to your database. Okay. So the question becomes is, what are the priorities and who's going to do all the other stuff, right? So I don't want you to take 3 hours in the middle of the day making a flyer. If you got to make a flyer and you're not ready to pay somebody to do it at night. Do it when it would be weird if you called somebody. You see what I'm saying? Do it early in the morning. So you want to spend the waking hours you got or the business hours doing business. Like I used to say that I was the realtor from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. And then I was the realtor's assistant from 8 at night until midnight when I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. Right. And until I made enough money to allow somebody else the opportunity to do that job, it was my job. But I knew that if I was inputting data into the computer at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I wasn't spending my time wisely. Right. I would have been better off looking at more property or, you know, interacting, growing my database. Does that make sense? Okay. So the other thing you can do is really get clear on what the distractions are, right? We all have distractions. Okay. So the distractions could be children, they could be notifications, they could be the phone ringing, they could be Facebook, it could be just about anything. Okay. I think I mentioned to you, I don't really get notifications on my phone anymore, right? Under incredibly rare circumstances will I answer my phone. Almost 100% of the time I let it go to voicemail, okay? And the idea there is, I think I've mentioned this before. Number one is I'm typically in the middle of something and I mean, I know who's calling. I can pick up if I need to, if there's something urgent, but most of the time it's not urgent and it could wait 5 or 10 minutes until I kind of finish what I'm thinking about. And then I can not think of that as a distraction, but then I can be fully engaged in that, right? So trying to think of a good example. You know what I'm saying. Basically, we have to, there's going to be time wasted by shifting back and forth, focusing on different stuff. So if Donna needs me for something and I say, give me 10 minutes, or I just don't say anything, if it's super important, like call me 3 times in a row. But don't call me 3 times in a row and ask me how to find something on the internet. That's not super important. That can wait 5 minutes, okay? So my point is that everyone else's emergencies don't necessarily have to become your emergencies. A lack of planning from somebody else doesn't need to interfere with my years and years and years of fine tuning and mastering time. And I'm nowhere near it, but I'm ahead of most people. And so I don't need their lack of planning or their lack of organization or their lack of being able to follow a calendar or deadlines to mess with me. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's touch on one other concept, which is what is an emergency anyway? Okay. If I have a message that I want to communicate to, let's say, Rhonda, okay, let's say I have some news and I need to communicate it with Rhonda, or I have an issue or a question or something like that. In my mind, I essentially have 3 ways to communicate that message. The first is by calling. The second is by text. And the third is by email. Okay. If I choose to notify her with this information via email, that is the very first clue that it's not an emergency. Does that make sense? It is essentially something on somebody's to-do list that they need to get off of their to-do list. And therefore they hit send and they move it out of the way so they can focus on something else. So we should not treat their non-emergency as our emergency. Does that make sense? There maybe should be time in your day where you say, hey, I'll tend to email at 11 o'clock when I'm done generating leads, 2 o'clock when I'm done following up, and 5 o'clock when I'm done with the day. You don't need to be connected to your email every 3 seconds. Oh, it's a sign company that wants me to buy signs. Oh, it's something from ABR. Oh, it's something from some realtor that somehow got my information and put me on their mailing list. And now I got some new listing. Look, if I care about your new listing, I'll find it when I'm searching for my buyers. You see what I'm saying? Because you've got to think of your time as like it's literally the most precious thing you got. Okay. So if somebody texts me or calls me, more often than not, that's also not an emergency. Okay. It could certainly wait 10 minutes. You see what I'm saying? Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, there was a time maybe a week or 2 ago where my wife called me like 3 times in a row. like within a minute. And I let all of them go. Oh, I let the first two go. And then the third I picked up, right? Turns out it was my daughter messing around with Alexa, but that's kind of the rule, if you will, right? If I see somebody calling 3 times in a row, I'll pick it up. But the first time, I'm almost never going to answer the phone. The other thing is that also works out in negotiations too, right? Let's say Julian and I are negotiating a transaction. I kind of want to hear his voice. I want to hear the tone that he's speaking in. I want to hear kind of the level of anxiety or urgency or like stress that he's got in his voice, so I can prepare to be able to take advantage of that. Does that make sense? So sometimes like jumping at somebody's needs doesn't actually help at all. What are you guys hearing me say?
Don't be over anxious to get an offer.
Or don't make other people's emergency your emergency.
That's right.
Exactly. Command your own schedule and don't let others take it over.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Value your time and use it for the most important things you need to get.
That's right. You guys are awesome today. Anyone else?
Present company excluded, right?
Are you referring to you?
No, I'm just referring to all of us.
No,
That we'll answer each other.
we're taking great notes.
Okay, I have one. An emergency on your end does not constitute a priority on my end.
I love that. That's exactly right. I mean, the truth of the matter is it might, but the default shouldn't be, like somebody like sending a amendment to address concerns at like 10:30 the night it expires. Like, come on, that's not going to be my problem. You see what I'm saying?
So Bill, I have a question for you, because I know for me personally, especially like I mentioned to you the other day with the kids also being home, this has been something that's super major in my arena, right?
Yeah,
so,
you're not alone.
Yeah, so the thing is, so I have I want to know like what your thoughts are about another thing here, because now also too with kids going back to school and they're actually going to be virtual.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more opportunity for, disengagement or having to move here, because especially with the younger ones, like my kindergartner, who's going to be a kindergartner, I'm trying to figure out even myself what is going to be the best way to make sure that there are limited distractions in that with them being virtual.
Yeah.
Tell me, what priority do you place when it comes to having to, put, okay, the kids doing this part and that part? How are you managing that while trying to stay on track on a daily basis, I guess, with everything else when it comes to them? How are you putting that in order?
Yeah, I mean, that's an awesome question. Everyone is encountering that same idea, including myself. I mean, if you came and watched my wife and I function in our home, you probably wouldn't tune in at 8:30, right? We're figuring it out also. Okay.
Right.
The first thing that pops into my mind though is it's a counterbalancing idea, right? Number one is everyone needs to know that you helping buyers buy and sellers sell is what keeps money flowing into the home side, into the home, right? So make it fun for the kids to protect your time, right? Now, when you're working, you can work at the same time they're expected to work. And so you're going to have to give a full commitment to your work, just like you're expecting them to also. And then you need to have probably a number of periodic times during the day where you're fully unfocused on work and fully focused on them, right? It's going to be going back and forth from, I'm all in at real estate and I need you to be all out of my face. Okay.
Well,
and maybe this is going to be for 20 minutes and then I'll have a sandwich with you. Right. But we got to be able to protect little nuggets of time throughout the day.
It sounds good.
A tip I heard. No, I don't. It takes training.
Yeah.
But a tip I heard years ago, and I use this with my children because I had a business when they were young.
Yeah.
if I'm on the phone, if I'm on the phone and they need something, they would come put their hand on my shoulder. I would put my hand on top of it, indicating I know that they are there, and that as soon as I can finish what I'm doing or complete my call or whatever it is, then I can address their concern. Now, it did take, it was a phased in kind of training, because I did that on the phone, and then I kind of changed it to, it doesn't need to just be whatever, it needs to be something important. The whatever time of, hey mom, I want to tell you this, needs to be a little later on, as those specific times. But this might be something where, especially with you with kids in school, because my kids are grown, especially those of you with kids in school, it might, an emergency doesn't have to involve blood and, broken bones. It could be struggling, being connected to school, or, something like that. But, it did take some training to teach this.
That, Pam, I think that's a great idea. Thank you for sharing that. Here's the thing is, nothing that I say or Pam says or anyone else says is going to work flawlessly in your home. What you have to, the goal is to, number one, express love for those that need you, right? Number two is to let them know that, I'm also got to do some work, right? I can't play 100% of the time. So you're looking at their schedule, you're looking at yours, and you're trying to find time where you can have the most focus or the least distractions. And it's some give and take, and it's going to take some successes and failures and tweaks and all these kind of things. I like the kind of, usually when I would be like this or something like that, like there would be some kind of like hand signal to, like, you can come in, or hey, you can say hi to the people on Zoom, or hey, this is not the kind of session I want to do that, right? And you know what, I'll tell you this, everyone's dealing with the same thing, okay? Your clients are too. And don't try to like pretend like you're not a human, right?
Yeah.
Don't try to pretend like you don't have kids or husband or wife or whatever, right? Like these things, when a lot of us are working from home, this is the way it is, right? Many of you, my daughter Miriam was on at pretty much every Zoom when we were quarantined, popping in. And you know what? If she got 5 seconds to say hi and somebody said, "Oh, you're so cute," that's all she needed to go away, right? So you got to learn about how they react to certain things. Because if I'm like, hold on, she'll sit there for 15 minutes. If I'm like, oh, look at my cute daughter. Oh, hey, everybody. Okay, see you later. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes it's like the opposite of what you would expect, right?
So what does it look like because my husband, he's at work all day, when school starts and you actually have to tour, you're previewing and you're doing stuff like that, but then you have a 7-year-old or someone who can't stay home by themselves, then how do you, that's what I'm going through. It's just like, damn, I don't have anybody to watch my kid.
Well, as I see it, you basically have three choices. And this is going to sound kind of brass, okay? One is you pay somebody to deal with that, right? I'm not saying these are all options for you. I'm just kind of brainstorming with you. One is you pay somebody to deal with that. Number two is you say, well, I have a 7-year-old and I can't, leave her alone, and I can't pay anyone to deal with it, and I can't bring her, so I guess I just won't sell homes. That's the second option. The third option is you bring her and you make it fun, right? It's not crazy. And quite frankly, honestly, if somebody's going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't work with you. You have a 7-year-old daughter. They don't deserve you anyway. Right.
You have to remember that everybody else is going through the same challenges.
Right. Right.
We have a lady that cleans for us, and she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Her classes are at 9 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And how am I going to do my job? And, this is a real business to her. And I told her, and a lot of her clients told, just bring her here. She can sit and do her homework at the table. It's not a big deal.
That's right.
Everybody's going through the same challenges. And it's like Bill said, they don't deserve you if they can't understand the challenges that you're going through as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's exactly right, you guys. And, some of you have or I don't think anyone on this call, but one or two of you have been to my house and watched my son try to help or my daughter try to help my wife take pictures of people. I mean, it's a mess, but it just makes it just is what it is. Like, you're not going to give your kids away. I mean, and you're not going to stop working. So don't go into it with the right energy. Go into it with the energy that says, hey, this isn't ideal, but I'm going to smile about it. And I'm going to be grateful that I have an opportunity to help a buyer or seller. Simultaneously, I'm going to be grateful that I have a child that wants to spend time with me. And I'm going to make the most of it. And you know what? Like Jan said, if they don't like it, that's their problem, you know? And because what you definitely don't want to do is give your children the impression that they're a distraction, right? You definitely don't want to do that. You don't want to be like, hey, mom's busy, go away, you know, or something like that. Because that way they don't, first of all, they don't feel loved. And second of all, they don't feel a part of the whole thing, right? This is a great opportunity to teach your kids about work and business and being an entrepreneur and having ideas and putting and implementing them. And it's also a good idea to talk about money. My daughter and I have been talking a lot about money lately, right? So she can really understand, like, when she breaks something, like, it does, like, it's not free. A new one just doesn't appear. Like, we have to take money from something else to fix it, right? She asked me how much her private school was the other day. And I was like, yeah, that's like 40,000 LOLs. What do you think about that? Quit breaking stuff. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think too, you know, it's part of you just teaching them, you know, if they've got to go with you on appointments, you know, you teach them how to behave.
That's right.
I used to tell, you know, my kids, and when they were younger, I always in the car, okay, this is what I expect from you when we get there. This is what you behave. And it finally got to the point where they're like, Mom, we know what you want. I'm like, okay, that's good. As long as you can behave that way, we won't have this discussion anymore. You know, but I would try to involve them, let them be the one thing up on the super box, you know, to help you open the door or, you know, some things like that.
Yeah, be like,
you know, to help.
Here's command 101. It's time for you to learn something, right? You're going to be my new assistant.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Today at 11 o'clock, we are going to have a little kind of office hours. We're going to do that for the first time. I'll just have the room open. Whoever wants to come in and out can ask questions or share feedback or make recommendations, whatever you want. We'll see how that goes. And then tomorrow, we're going to have Diane Borchers. There's a little last minute, but Diane is going to be doing the Success Series. She's been at our office for about 15 years. Has a great business. I think right now she's the number 4 individual agent in the office and number 11 from all the office, or from all the agents in the office, teams included. She's awesome. She's on the ALC right now. About 7 or 8 years ago, she started helping me out in the business a little bit. Not because she was new, just because she was great. And, you know, I helped her a little, she helped me a little bit, and everything worked out wonderfully. So she's going to be with us from 12 to 1 tomorrow. And then from 1 to 2 will be the launch mastermind. Okay. All right. Y'all have an awesome day. Please don't forget, I've got a little less activity lately on number reporting. So if you could please do me a favor and catch up with that, that would be fantastic. I'm meeting with my coach later this afternoon, and that's the first thing she always asks me. So if you could update that, that'd be fantastic. And I'm proud of you guys. Keep up the good work.
What is the weekly reporting day? Is it Monday or is it Sunday? Is it what?
Yeah, I'm trying to put a little bit more consistency on that. But this month it's going to be back to a Sunday night reporting, or I'd like to have the numbers by Monday morning. It basically has to do with what day the month starts on. But right now, the time period is the 10th through the 16th. So the 16th is a Sunday, and you report the numbers ideally before you come in on Monday. Okay. And then of course catch up for whatever you're lacking. Okay.
Got it.
All right, you guys, call me if you need me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Bill.